Your next installment of the Better Beach podcast. We're getting things set up here, and today we are going to talk all about should you play above your level? I think this is a question that a lot of people run into when they're playing tournaments early on. As a young man, we just wanted to get in right away and say, I'm an open player. I'm an open player. Whether or not we belonged there is going to be part of this discussion, and whether or not it was a good call. So I like this talk. I think it's an important conversation that a lot of players should have, and they need to have with themselves as well. And there are different answers for different people, but we're just gonna discuss each part of that answer and when you should drop a level, when you should stay the same level, or when you should bump up a little bit. But before we get to that, Ben, I want to hear what's going on in your life. You moved into a new apartment.
Yeah, well, currently moving. Had a good weekend. Luckily, my new landlord is very nice and allowed me to move some stuff in ahead of time. Official start is tomorrow. So,
Okay.
um, but yeah, man, life's good. I'm feeling good on the court. My body's feeling healthy. I still have a lot of drive, and just once I get past this little move, then I'll feel like I'll have a full head of steam moving forward. And yeah, I'm just excited. I think everything that's going on right now is really cool in my life, especially. Um, and it seems like everything's starting to click as far as work, play, and my personal life as well. So yeah, life's pretty good today.
Nice.
No complaints. Yeah.
Good. Nice to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we get to go to New York this week.
Going back to the old stomping grounds.
The old stomping ground. There's this little facility called Endless Summer, and once or twice a year for I guess the last 5, maybe 6 years, I've gotten to go back home, see some familiar faces, run a nice clinic in my hometown. It's a tiny facility. They've got 2 courts, and they've got about a foot and a half of space outside each sideline. But they provide beach volleyball for the people who need it during the winter and love it. And so we get to go back to New York this weekend, and those clinics are sold out by far. 2 courts was kind of easy. They sold out quick. But we'll get to work with some of the FDNY volleyball members, which I'm pumped about.
There you go.
My brother's on the FDNY team, and I love getting to work with those guys.
Yeah, I heard good stories about those guys. And it's so cool to me. Normally, I would completely avoid New York during this month, especially during the winter. I mean, I know it's got some holiday cheer, and if you can go around the holidays, it's beautiful. But February, March, maybe it's starting to get a little bit warmer, but these indoor facilities, it is amazing how many are popping up and just how cool it is, because I got to experience it a couple years ago when I was still living in Virginia Beach, and it is just so nice to have a place to go during the winter when it's cold and still play beach volleyball, sand volleyball. But yeah, it's really cool. And I mean, any chance that we get to kind of mix going home and seeing our families and still working and spreading the game, it's always it makes our job even cooler because we get to kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone kind of thing.
Yeah, 3. We get some training
in. Yeah, there you go.
The one clinic that has not sold out is for anybody who's listening right now in Ohio at Grand Sands. We're going to be hanging out with John Drake, Chaos Volley, and that they have a massive facility, so it'll be difficult to sell that out. But I think we have to call it at the end of this week so that we can book our coach flights. We got a lot of people who are waiting to hear if we need them. And I know it's going to be me, it's going to be you, it's going to be Brandon, or sorry, you are Brandon Joy. It's going to be Logan Weber, and maybe Allie and JM, who are just camp favorites and clinic favorites, who just bring great energy, especially from Allie.
Yeah, and I know last week, especially for our listeners today that are live, if you tried to go on there and sign up and it happened to say sold out, that was just our initial what we needed it to reach for us to go, and we're a little slow on opening up to more spots, but there are spots available still. So if you're one of those people that checked it out and it happened to say sold out for some reason, that's the reason, our fault. But we'd still love to have you. So hopefully you can head on over to the site. I think it's betteratbeach.com/clinics, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then should just be able to scroll down and find those full space or individual sessions, depending on what you're looking for.
Yeah. We always want to make sure that we run different kinds of clinics than I'd say most people. Most companies, we want to make sure that our coach to athlete ratio stays small and that our athlete to court ratio stays small. We will not run these clinics where you have 20, 30 people on one court. It just doesn't make sense to us. We don't think it's fair to the players, and we really want to dive in deep with each athlete, and that's where the fun happens. So, for those of you who are ever considering signing up for a clinic, just know that that's what we pride ourselves on, is those tight ratios, so that we can give you lots of extra attention.
Yeah, and I know you and I have spent many hours together going over our camp manuals and our clinic manuals, and that's done for a reason. The reason we do that is because we have decided on every single minute of our clinics with what drills we should be doing, about how long they should be lasting, what focuses they are. And after our clinics and camps, I get a lot of people reaching out asking if I can send over the drills and manuals and stuff like that we use. And unfortunately I can't, because we spent so much time building it, and that's one of our biggest prized possessions at this moment. But it doesn't mean you can't record and come and have some of those ideas in your phone of you doing those drills, and then you can use those on your practices moving forward.
Yeah.
And we also have our practice plan companion that you can purchase. So
exactly, a lot of our practice plans are in there, right. And we might take out the coaching manual and just we don't want to give absolutely everything, because we've worked really hard on developing a manual and a teaching system and a protocol for the coaches, so that they can perform their best for the athletes. And we do have 50 practice plans waiting for you. We have a product inside of that's how to build a beach volleyball practice. So if you guys want to get your hands on 50 full 2-hour practice plans, super easy, betteratbeach.com/practice plans. It also usually lives on our homepage. And you know what surprises me more than most of our courses and our training programs? That thing just keeps selling. People love those practice plans, and they dive in, and they've got them all there. And the good part is that they come with video demonstrations. 20 of the 2-hour practice plans, 20 out of the 50 have full video demonstrations. So volleyball is particularly hard to look at or read a drill and then try to implement it on court. So it's really nice that we've got all those videos set up.
Yeah. I talked about my sister last time. This is one of the great uses for her as well. She does not play volleyball. Well, she did in high school. 13 aces in one game. I mean, that's got to be something. But I always ask her, hey, can you understand what you're supposed to do in these drills? And if she can do it, then I have a lot of faith in everybody else.
Good.
So, yeah.
All right. So let's get into today's topic.
Yeah.
Should you play above your level? I've had from the start, I've always wanted to play the highest level. So I said, yeah, no matter what, this is where I'm going to play. And I've got a number of stories that we'll share during this about when I was in competition and then how to train at a different level. But one story or thing that I read maybe that Jake Gibbs said, and he's been our Olympian 3, 4 times. Uh, he said that people need to learn how to win. And so many people that he sees, and he doesn't believe it's necessarily the right way, is they play at the highest level possible. And when they do, they get so used to losing midway through the day that the first time they even might be in a championship match, they're in no way prepared for that. They're either too exhausted, they haven't fueled correctly with hydration and with eating the right way. They don't know how to close things out. And so he said, if you're going to start playing, just start by winning one tournament at each level. Like at least start at the lowest possible level and win that. Go all the way through. And then the next one. And then the next one before you just decide to jump ahead levels. And I found a lot of merit in that, in understanding what a full day feels like. And I think definitely more people should start embracing that idea. I'm not saying every time, I'm not saying sit there and be a 6'7" former Division I indoor player and just crushing the B level so that you can take everybody's umbrellas and beach chairs. But there should be a step-by-step process that you can take yourself through, because too many players, I think, you have the option of where you want to sign up, and nobody tells you that you can't sign up for an open tournament when you're really a lower level player. You're just starting out. So volleyball is kind of free in that way. The only time where we're capping tournaments at this point is when you're trying to get onto the AVP, and now there's a numbers cap to get in. But the rest of the country doesn't have that, and I don't know what's going on with that, with international ball. But what do you think? Do you think that you should be always playing every tournament at the highest level possible?
I think there's definitely a grace period, and then I also think that there's so many circumstances that come into play, and like the level of the tournament. For me, I agree with you. If you're just coming out to the sand or coming out to the beach, whether you've played indoor or not, like obviously trying to figure out that initial starting point is the hardest. But I think, unfortunately, for your first one, it's okay to error low. I think setting yourself up to, if you're on the verge of being an A level player or a double A player, and you sign up for the double A being like, I think I can do it, and there is an A division for that tournament, it can be really, really hard to show up to a tournament for the first time, lose every single match, and then still have the drive to show up on Monday. But I do think that there are some times where it is okay to challenge yourself. And this the only reason I say this is because when I was living in Virginia Beach, there were some tournaments where I would get frustrated when maybe like top level double A teams wouldn't sign up for an open tournament just because they wanted to win the double A, so I have these two guys in my mind, who I love to death. They are my brothers. Their names are Pat and Kyle. I think they go by Pile on Instagram.
We've got a
And they're
unified account.
phenomenal human beings and really great volleyball players. And now they play in open tournaments every single time. So it was just a matter of time for them getting started. But there were a couple times the year before they transitioned to open where I thought that there were some tournaments that they could have played in, based on the level of the tournament. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
So, like in Virginia Beach, sometimes we do have, or I still call that place home. So,
Yep.
there's a variety of level of tournaments. There are some tournaments that are just the local teams. Nobody from out of town. It's mostly Virginia Beach, maybe a couple North Carolina teams coming into town. And maybe there's 8 teams signed up. I think that could be an opportunity where you kind of take a chance and you say, you know what, I'm going to play up the level because it's a lot of people from this area. I play against them in leagues a lot, and I'm somewhat competitive. Am I expecting to win the tournament? No, but it's good practice for me to see this level of play. And then obviously in Virginia Beach, there are also these big money tournaments that they have, and I think those kind of pop up everywhere. But that's probably one you don't want to take a chance on and play, because now you're getting teams from Florida, New Jersey. People are flying in or driving a big distance, Ohio, that are really high level players. And now it's probably a double elimination tournament, and you're setting yourself up to go 0-2 when you could have played double A and maybe won the whole thing. So I think it's for me, it has a lot to do with like reading the situation and just trying to figure out where the benefit or the negativity comes from. Sorry.
Yeah. All good. Yeah, visitors.
Yeah. I'm going to check that real fast.
All right. I'll take over. Every now and then we see in these pockets in different neighborhoods, there are players who just win everything. Now they win every tournament. There are a few guys, specifically friends, who come to mind. Bobby Webb in Salt Lake City, Shane Donahue in New Jersey. But these are the guys who are winning their top division. So that's not sandbagging, right? That's not holding yourself down just so you can win. And the choice for them is, do they actually want to travel? Do they want to invest in tournaments like qualifiers or those regional big monies, like Brandon was saying? And it's totally okay if you don't want to travel, if you don't want to lose 2 or 3 days with your family and from work to go to that. That's different than saying, I'm not going to play open so that I can sit here and win this double A tournament. But we got to get back to the validity of how much push, how much challenge do I need to progress? And I've got a story from Long Beach in New York when I was just coming out to the beach, and I was playing with my high school volleyball coach and gym teacher, Kevin Colucci. Awesome guy, still coaching. He actually just started a new club with the AVP with the East End Volleyball partnership. So he's starting a new beach club out in Long Island, and he's a fantastic coach, fantastic human. And we played, and his shoulder was busted up, and he just kind of let me hit hard. And having played in college, my skill levels were a bit beyond most of Long Beach where I was playing. And I got to my first finals with him, and we got spanked, like absolutely annihilated by Tim McNichol. This is going way back. Tim McNichol and Ira Kinshin. And they handled us. And it wasn't even like they were really trying. And I felt that. I was able to feel how much more control they had over the flow of the game, over everywhere where they put the ball, their skills. And after getting waxed, I was I was a little upset, but I was smiling. And I said, that's the level that I need to be at. And then I told myself, that's the level that I'm going to be at. I wanted to have that control. So it was nice to experience getting worked so that I understood, that's where I'm going to be. But if you're getting, then you got to go back to the drawing board. After you get worked, you can't just keep playing that match and not understanding why you're losing. You need to experience it, and then you need to look at your film, look at your video, talk to other players and say, why did that happen? Why do they have more control? Are they making different decisions than me? Are they more skillful? And the huge amount of players out there, they don't take the decision making part into account. They all think it's this skill, I just missed that one pass. Oh, my partner just set that one ball over the net. Good teams win because, yes, they have more control every touch, but they make better decisions over time. And if you're out there just in a slugfest, all you're doing is hitting, shooting high lines, hitting, shooting high lines, and you're trying to serve as hard as you can, but there's no thought process going into how you're going to take control and then keep control of the match, then you're sitting there playing checkers and the guys on the other side are playing chess and they're beating you. You think it looks like effort, but they're beating you effortlessly. Right? So everybody who's losing isn't quite getting to that next level or you're getting worked. It's not just because of the skill consistency and the touch consistency, but it's the mental side of how do I beat this team? And when you get knocked out of tournaments early, you never discover having control of the match for a little bit and then feeling like it's sliding out of your hands and then trying to regain it. You never understand that mental side that you need to win at that level or at the next level. So just getting beat up, that's not going to work. That's not going to get you to the next level, especially in tournaments. It's nice to be that sixth guy at a practice where like everybody else is an open player and you're the kind of mid-range double A player, so that you start hearing their conversations, hearing what they're talking about. That is a big opportunity. But if we're talking about tournaments, you have to experience controlling a match, then controlling a tournament, and controlling your body and your mind throughout the entire day. And it's not talked about enough because so many adults, they just have the ability to sign up for whatever level they want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and something that I really like Pottstown. I know Pottstown does it. I think CBVA does it as well. With their automatic upgrading, and that also limiting what you can do. The one thing that I am curious is, another story time. I feel like this is just story time with Mark and Brandon. But the first year I played Pottstown, I played double A with, or whatever they had, with Luke Maloney, who also played with us at Mason. We were both pretty skilled volleyball players. We played double A. We made it to the finals or semifinals of that tournament. And then the next year we showed up to Pottstown. We had to play open. We weren't allowed to sign up for the lower level. Got whooped. Like didn't come out of pool. And this was a year later when we were in college still. So we still thought we were just hot and ready to roll over some teams.
Kids think they're hot.
Yeah, man, it was very humbling to say the least. But I really do like that idea. Although I am kind of wondering if there can be. Do you think that once you reach that level, you should have to stay there indefinitely, or let's say you win a double A tournament, you go to an open level tournament, and you go O2 barbecue for 3 tournaments in a row. do you think there should be some kind of exception where you can go back down? Because I think that there should be. You know, winning a tournament is pretty hard. I would say almost winning one tournament and having to move up might be a little unfair. Just because it's like, man, I just got this sign of glory. I feel amazing. And now you're just taking that away from me.
Yeah.
And now for the rest of the summer, I have to just lose. Which,
Well, that's go ahead.
go ahead.
You have you have those April, May tournaments, and it's
Mhm.
just the A, the double A, all the CBVA, all the California Beach Volleyball Association people talk about it. Like, well, yeah, it's an early season tournament, so every level is stacked. Like, oh, an A player is playing a B level tournament. Like, of course they don't belong there. Of course they win. Or you
Mhm.
have somebody who retired from the AVP 3 years ago.
Right.
He hasn't played in a bit, and he just wants to go out and have fun and play volleyball again. So he picks up some like high school kid or a buddy, and you have to play against that
Mhm.
person in a B or an A tournament before he gets his next rating. Those are always fun. Those are always stacked, and I agree with you. Yeah, there's a chance where you just get this fluke tournament, and if it's a forced move up for the rest of the year, well, that's going to be tough on you. You're going to lose. You're going to lose early, and you might be out kicking your coverage there.
Mhm.
So, yeah, maybe 2 wins, but then my father-in-law says, every policy creates behavior. So then, are you going to just get a situation where people get to the finals and then they just lose or they cramp on purpose just so that they can play long days of volleyball,
Mhm.
the rest of the summer? Hopefully you don't do that. Hopefully somebody is able to recognize that and stop it. But there has to be a situation where you can't win 2, 3, 4 tournaments in a row at one level and then never move up. I just don't think that's good for the sport, you know. And and there shouldn't be open players unless you're playing, like I said, if you're playing with a friend who wants to play with you to have fun, if you're playing with your 12-year-old son or daughter and you
Mhm.
want to get in that, like, yeah, absolutely. But at that point, you have the control, and you shouldn't be such a jerk and be that competitive, because you should be there for your friend or for your son, daughter,
Right.
wife, whatever it is.
And even if you are that, like that's the whole term of being a sandbagger, right?
Yeah.
Um, is you're playing a level lower than you should. Um, and I've played in tournaments like that where, especially when I was in Virginia Beach and I would coach these middle school girls, and like during the summer after I was done coaching them, sometimes I would play like a co-ed tournament with one of them, and we wouldn't play open because it's a 15-year-old girl who hasn't really done much, but
Mm.
I also understood where I was, and I was not. I mean, I took it upon myself to make sure that we won the matches we should and we lost the matches we should. You know,
Yeah.
I just realized like, okay, I'm not going to take over this match and win it for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I think that that's kind of, especially if you're one of those people. Um, I'm not going to go up into a co-ed tournament in a B division and start jump serving. Like your game should mirror kind of similar to what the other courts look like. And if that means you don't jump, that means you don't jump.
Yeah.
Um, Something along those lines. But kind of backtracking a little bit, one thing that I really liked that I heard you say was actually talking about practice.
Mm.
And I think that that is a really big benefit into leveling up in your tournaments, because that alone will help you find better practice players.
Yes.
You know, it's crazy how even in Virginia Beach, like if you played in a double A tournament, I wasn't going to reach out to you for training practice because,
Mhm.
um, unfortunately, there was just a very obvious divide and what level of play you were.
Not only level, but like physical. There might
Yeah.
be some freak athlete over there, and you never see him because he's 20 courts down.
Exactly. Yeah, but even having like even if you go 0-2, it's in your area. You have to remember that, especially outside of California, volleyball communities aren't very big, but we're starting to see a ramp up in training,
Mhm.
and which is really, really cool to see. But the only way that you'll get into those groups is by making yourself visible. So if
Very
you show
cool.
up for a tournament, it's like, yeah, you might go 0-2, but that doesn't necessarily have to be a failure for you.
Mhm.
That can be, okay, I'm going to play in this tournament so I can realize what the level of play is like. I can realize what skills I need to work on. And then at this same tournament, I'm going to go up to the best team from my hometown that's also in that tournament and ask how they're doing. Be like, hey, how are you doing in
Yeah.
this tournament? Like, if I win this next match, we might play each other. That kind of idea, because now at the end of the tournament, if you come up to me and say, hey, Brandon, I'm looking to get into some training. If you guys are ever training and need an extra body, let me know. And especially if I'm in a small community, I am texting you the next day saying, hey, we're training at this time. I hope you can come. And then now that you're in that new group, now that this whole question,
Hmm.
should you be playing your level up a level? Now you found your level. You know what level you are, and now there's not this question of going back and forth. Um, I think that question happens a lot when you're not preparing to level up.
There you go.
You know, you're just reminding yourself every weekend that you're the same player. You're a weekend warrior, which is great. Like, that's completely fine. But um, hopefully the people that are listening to this podcast, you know, and are interested in getting better, you eventually have a goal of playing at, and it doesn't have to be an open level, but you at least have a goal of maybe leveling up once, you know, and just that kind of idea, um, and you feeling like you belong there and other people seeing that you belong there, that's a pretty big story as well.
That that's another thing that I can't overemphasize is going and inserting yourself into the conversations, the social situations, the getting somebody's phone number. If you don't have their phone number, you get them on Instagram, and you have to put yourself out there. This is, there can be no harm in saying, setting your alarm for 3 times a week, saying, hey, need any practice dummies this week? Need any practice dummies the next 2 days? And if you just keep sending that to, 2, 3, 4 of the best players, of the people that you want to, be their practice dummy for a while. Serve for them, block for them, hit balls for them, listen to their conversations, because then you're going to be at least seeing and experiencing what they are working on. And most people don't get that chance. And I think a couple guys that did that really well are Troy Field and Jeremy Casebeer.
Mm-hmm.
These guys went intentionally as practice dummies, as serving and blocking dummies for better teams. And they just hung around the court, hung around the court, hung around the court, and then all of a sudden dominated every court in the U.S. And that's not on accident. That's by design. So if you're looking to level up, whether we're talking about sports, business, or the people you surround yourself with, you must insert yourself into those conversations. And then if you're talking about getting better at coaching, getting better at business or anything, call somebody and say, hey, oh, what are you working on today? Oh, yeah. And then just ask why twice once they tell you what they're working on. And if you want to be in that profession, in that job, if you want to level up in that sport, say, is there anything that I can help with? I've got 2 hours, I've got 3 hours, I've got 4 hours, or my time is completely yours because I'm 100% dedicated to this. And if people can start doing that, putting themselves just out there and saying, do you need a practice dummy? Not, can I practice with you? Can I practice with you is a way of framing it so that you're helping me. And that will be less likely to receive. When I can help you and I offer my services to you, then you say, oh man, okay, yeah, he wants to help me. This is fine. And then whether they keep you as a practice dummy and just serving 1,000 balls that practice, okay, then you learn some mental stuff. And at some point, maybe they'll just ask for a third or a fifth to jump in, or somebody gets tired, somebody has to leave early. But you got to insert yourself into that conversation when you're practicing, when you're trying to level up. So, should you practice above your level? Yes. But remember, that's you trying to get at the level. Just because you got a practice at that level does not mean you practice with Casey Patterson. And so everybody else is now all of a sudden below you just because you got accepted into a practice. That is not how it works.
Right.
We've had that at camps. I play with open players all the time. You play with open players. You are not an open player. You know, you need to show me some finishes before you can actually say something like that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm doing beach tennis right now, and I'm loving it. Absolutely loving it. I've got a big history with tennis in my life, and this is 100% what I'm doing. And at my own shoulder, I got one of the better guys to like me. You know, yesterday I just went there and played a game. I kind of outserved just based on power. I outserved some of the older guys, and then I went off to a court just to serve alone. And he saw that I was overpowering people, but I had no control. So he's like, he actually came over and he said, hey, if you don't want to go chasing those balls at 100 yards, he goes, I'll return them for you if you want. And I said, absolutely. Well, so I served at this guy for probably half hour, 40 minutes, and then got in some conversations. And then I just asked him 3 questions. I didn't want to hammer him with questions and shower him like that. But I just asked him questions like, are you reacting or are you designing plays? And he gave me good answers. And then once I asked him, all of a sudden, all of the knowledge that he had in his head, he just kept trying to pour it out. Boom, 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 boom. And if I didn't ask a couple leading questions, he just sat there and returned, and, you know, kept going. So, got his number.
Oh,
hey,
man, I'm so proud of you. Don't you go making too many new friends. I can't. I'm starting to get jealous over here.
And he said, hey, if you're getting out and you're playing, just shoot me a text instead of that big group, and I'll see if I can get you with some of the better players or somebody here. And just being open to that, asking the questions, and opening the gate of knowledge with a question. When people are good at something, they secretly, or maybe obviously, they want to share and show you how good they are by sharing their knowledge. And most people think they want to hide on keep all their secrets. Instead, they want to build their ego by saying like, hey, look how much I can help you. Look how much I know. Look how much I train. And so if you find the key that unlocks that dam, boom, you're just going to get showered with knowledge from that point on. And stay open to that for as long as you possibly can. If you never ask though, and if you never ask how you can help them, it's not going to work.
I like that. I like the specific questions too, because that really does show a lot of people that care, you know, and especially in sport, I would say pretty much around the sport universe, whatever sport you're talking about, if you show someone that you care and you ask them a question, very, very unlikely are they just going to be like, get out of here, newbie.
Yeah.
You know, people do like sharing what they have, and especially in the world of beach volleyball, people want to share. They know what it's like. They've been there. They've been a part of this kind of experience themselves, and they realize what the volleyball community stands for. And that alone will get you a lot of answers.
Yeah. Brandon Norwood just gave us a little shout out.
Yeah,
What
no.
up, Brandon? I love that
I
guy.
know. Brandon, you got to see if you can get us into FUDs. We're on the freaking wait list because
We are on the wait list.
Paul's a slacker. So hopefully we will see you at FUDs. So another thing that that just popped into my mind, especially when we're thinking about should you be playing up, I think it goes back to kind of the initial phase of your season, kind of where we are right now, and it comes down to goal setting. I think that is a really big opportunity for you to figure out what your summer will look like. Um, I know for me, when I first started playing, some of my goals were like win a match in a double elimination tournament,
Great.
and I started off that small. Um, I I kind of got thrown into the open level tournaments because of my indoor career and success. So I never really played at the double A level.
You're
But
6'5".
yeah, I'm also just
Helps,
a,
man.
a larger human and on the East Coast. Um, not on the West Coast. I would have been playing A until last year. But if I was at that level where I was coming in, then I probably would have had a goal that was make a semifinal in an A tournament, or win an A level tournament. And obviously there are some things that happen that might make you move up a level if you're in one of those areas. But I also, like we've been talking about, challenging yourself and looking for those opportunities to challenge yourself, but that also can't really take away from your individual goals as well. So if you're an A level player and your goal is to win an A level tournament and you're getting bullied into playing double A tournaments, but you still haven't accomplished that goal, that's another time where I think it's okay for you to look in the mirror and be like, you know what? This is more important for me. This is where a box that I need to check in order for me to say that I've accomplished what I set out to in my preseason. Um, Obviously, there are certain things that happen where if you get asked by a better player to play in a tournament, you're probably going to bail on some of those goals, maybe. Um, but I think that goal setting too can kind of answer this question for you, because most of the time, if you understand where you're trying to get to, then maybe in that same year you have a goal of saying, I want to play in 3 open level tournaments, you know, and even if you haven't won that A level tournament, it's okay to bail on it if you have the opportunity to earn your way into that open level tournament. So I think that the goal setting and kind of understanding what you're trying to accomplish is also something that we need to look at.
Something that I struggle with, and you get the full, yeah, you get to experience it in full, is I set big goals and I just want to go out and reach them. But I need people in my life who are able to break them into steps, into small, attainable steps. So if your goal is win an open tournament, let's see if we can break that into 5 new levels, right? Like one step of the way. What's before winning one? It's going to be, all right, making the finals. What's going to be before that? Making semifinals. What's going to be before that? Breaking pool. So that at least you have this sense. And if you write it down somewhere and you just have a little checkbox next to it and you're just waiting to put that check on, then you're going to feel accomplished once you do it. And then you're going to know what the next steps are. And then even those steps can be broken into little tasks about what you need, and what needs to level up. But when you have these big giant goals, we see every what's your goal? Oh, I want to play for the Olympics. I'm going to beach volleyball. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Right. But like, what is the next thing that you haven't done yet that is going to do there? That is going to get you there. First, you got to be auto main draw. Like you have to be auto main draw. So that first tournament where you like don't have to play any qualifiers, yeah, okay, now we've reached that level. Now, next thing is just pick a seventh, a ninth, a seventh before you start going crazy. You can always have the picture of your grand goal and set those grand goals, but break them into steps, achievable steps, so that you know that you're accomplishing something. And if you ever need help with seeing what statistics or skills need to level up to get you to the next level, that's why you got coaches. That's why you got our online programs, our online coaching, or just anybody who's willing to help you with a certain skill and say, all right, well, I got to hit 400. And that should be one of those attainable step goals. So we we did this on the East Coast when we are talking about practicing with better players, and we got to a point where we couldn't. We had to travel in order to play against good players. Everybody who I was practicing with in Long Beach, my level at that point had surpassed that. And unless you're Tim Baumgren, I don't know how he does it, but
I have no idea.
just come out and dominate. He does have a small crew of players. Yeah, he really does, and him and his family have been studying the game for a while. But for us, Shane Donahue and Chris Frazier were just crushing it in Jersey. Zahn was on his way up, as was Vaughn. You and Hudson were doing your thing down in Virginia Beach, and just it was easy. And you intentionally split up to make sure that you had like some decent competition.
Right.
Crazy. And Eric Lucas could come and win any of those tournaments from Maryland. And we had to make a call that says, are we wasting our time for the first 7 hours every single Saturday where we're winning 21-12, 21-11 for literally 7 hours to then finally play one real match that you're racing the sunset and you have to do 1-28? Like the least amount of volleyball that you're playing at that level, you're playing the smallest amount of volleyball at your level. Every other level you can recover from your stupid mistakes. You don't have to play on the edge. So we made the call, and I got everybody on text, and I said, guys, if we can travel once or twice a week and just go late at night, wake up early in the morning, get a full day practice with like 1 day off of work or mix up a match or somehow, then we're going to be so much better. But we're not doing it. We're not going to make the qualifiers. We're not going to make the main draw the way we're doing it by just beating up on people without challenging our level at a consistent rate. And we did that. And the next year and the year after that, boom, everybody all of a sudden just started like going deep in qualifiers and making main draws. And that was because in practice, we treated our hours and our reps, our competitive reps, more importantly than we did winning. So that's kind of a reverse of what we're talking about here. In tournaments, we're talking about, should you play up too much? Well, how much are you also going to play down just because it's cool to win?
Mm-hmm.
Some people like doing that. Some people say, you know what, I feel comfortable. It makes me feel good to go out and, win a tournament every weekend and then come home. And that's more power to you, but you should be forced to move up a level if you're just taking it from everybody else. And you should want that for yourself. You should want to test yourself a little bit.
Yeah, it's cool too, because I mean, especially with us, it created a little family, and it's one of the groups that I consider all those guys to be some of my closest friends now. Just from us seeking each other out and doing these trainings. And now it's become where we'll support each other in every single tournament. Doesn't matter if we're in the tournament or not. We want to see those guys in the semis and finals. And when we don't, it's almost like a little upsetting. So it was really cool. And it's also cool to see with just that little group that we made, how many of us, just from the overall drive that we had, how many of us are still playing? because that was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I would say just about every one of us, maybe not, I mean, even Hudson's still getting out there and throwing that big body around.
He's just a Division I men's coach now.
Yeah, he's
He's
got
doing
the
nothing with volleyball.
right.
USA
But
Beach Juniors too.
yeah, but it's cool. It created a sense of just pride within our group and made us push to go further. And once we had that, it kind of, the practices just handled themselves, which is really, really cool.
We got one of these questions from Nicole, and I do want to tackle it. So Nicole Ruggi is asking on our live chat, the biggest insecurity, which we have to try to battle, that is bogging down a better player's practice or play. As a better player, what goes through your head when lower player asks to practice with you, help you with practice? So thank you, Nicole, for that question, because those are two different things. When a lower level player asks to practice with you, that's different than help you with practice. There's a big, big, big difference in the way that you frame those two things. And I know that everybody only has a limited number of hours every week. You can only get out and volley so much. So how much do you get your own playing, and how much do you decide to help somebody better, right? But if you if you go and you intern for Elon Musk, and you're like his personal assistant, don't you think you're going to learn a little bit more than if you were to just go and work on your own engineering project and kind of dive in all alone and figure it out and work it out with all of the classmates that you that you majored with in college? There's a different level that's happening there. So you have to trade school for your current job, essentially. And if you ask to help, and then you just keep saying, hey, do you want me to serve balls at you for a half hour today? Hell yeah. And if you want to come and you want to serve me and Brandon volleyballs in Hermosa Beach for a half hour, we accept 100% right now. Like, we will accept, and you'll hear the conversations we have. And I don't want you bugging me through all of practice and saying, like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? But when we're getting water and you ask 3 or 4 questions, like during the water break, yeah. Are you then trading up? Yes, because now you're trading your service to uniquely get the reps that you need. So don't ask to practice with them. Let that happen on its own. Ask to help them with practice. And then when you see them in a tournament, beat them. Beat the hell out of them. And then as soon as you beat them or you test them in a couple of matches, then they're going to say, all right, it's okay for them to now start asking for some practices.
Yeah, I think, just to add a little bit there, I think it's just realizing what your responsibility is at that practice and what you're expecting. If you're the player that was asked to come, that you're at a lower level than these other players and you're just helping, then just know that that's what you're doing, and try your best. Try as hard as you can. Don't be the laziest person in the gym. That's what gets you not invited back ever again. And then obviously, like Mark said, when you get a chance to ask questions, ask them, but don't overwhelm people, but realize that you're there to help them. And so you have some value at that practice. And I've talked about this a couple times before. When I first moved out here, I was having a hard time getting into practice. And one of the things, once I started getting invited to higher level practices, is not only was I learning a lot, I knew that my gift was getting the ability to practice with these guys, but also I was like, you know what? I need to add something too. So I tried to be overly positive. I tried to encourage guys. Like, if people were going for the ball and I was a part of the drill, I'd be like, yeah, great up. Nice job. Like, continue that energy going. And then if you're one of the top players and you have other people there showing up to your practice that are helping you, understand that they're there to help you. You complaining about their skill level is not a good thing for you. you got to sit back and realize that you have someone who's a lower level that is at practice helping you.
Mm.
More than likely, you're not paying them. Um, there, I have stories about Virginia Beach where I would peer pressure people into coming to train with me. I'd offer them, be like, "Hey, I'll buy you a 6-pack. Like, we'll have a 6-pack after practice if you come." And when we're at practice, like, even if someone misses serve and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm sorry," I'd be like, "No, man, hey, don't worry about it. Like,
Mm.
you're fine. You got this."
That's the worst thing that
And
you can do. If you're that level, if you're that lower level player, and then you show up with the attitude of you get so frustrated with yourself every time you screw up, that'll happen because you're seeing that better player and you're like, oh my God, they're gonna be disappointed in me. And oh my God,
right.
now I'm gonna lose this opportunity. You will lose it faster when you have that opportunity of falling into yourself. So you have to create positivity without messing around.
Right.
And that is absolutely massive. That's how I was able to like manage to get a spot on Mason. My skill and my physicality wasn't there, but I was able to challenge people in a positive way. And even though I was losing, kind of like put a smile on my face and then still like, but I'm coming for you. You know? And coach liked that. And so he said, all right, well, you're not skilled enough to be here, but at least you make the culture more fun, more competitive. And if you can't compete skillfully, you have to find a way to bring a culture or an attitude that makes it enjoyable to be around you. And if you pout and you get sassy and you get frustrated with yourself and then mad, you're not going to come back to that court. Even if you're at the same level, you're not going to come back to that court. And we have guys that get all pouty during practice and they're like, they're kind of a last resort for a phone call. You know, we'll still play with them. They'll still beat us and we'll still beat them. But there's some guys you just don't want to practice with because of that.
Yeah, it's a good. I like that. Thanks for bringing that up, Nicole. That's I think that's probably one of the most common. Whenever we start talking about clicks and stuff like that in beach volleyball, whenever you hear the word click, it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's one way to kind of avoid that because we are a big family, and any chance that you can, it's nice to try to get everyone involved.
We do gotta wrap this up. So I
Yeah.
just want to kind of tie Tim's last question. Tim McBride just asked a question, and then that'll be the extent of the Q&A. So Tim McBride asks, I want to challenge myself and grow. Any suggestions for how I could find someone who is a similar level who also wants to practice multiple times a week to improve? Here's my number one. It works for us. It has worked across the country and in different places. You start a WhatsApp group and you manually select the people before you put them into that WhatsApp group. And you don't say, hey, I want to play this many times a week. I want to play this many hours a week. You say, hey, I'm trying to get reps to practice, or I'm going to work on my hitting for an hour and a half tomorrow. No games. Specifically say no games. Just work reps, right? Work on or reps. Then you'll see who volunteers. Those are the people you put into that WhatsApp group. Those are the people that you put into a little Facebook group, right? And you keep admin control. This is super important because people get kind of nice with it, and then the group devolves into just a meetup and play group. But you have to find your specific people. Get a Facebook group of your own, get a WhatsApp group of your own. WhatsApp's great because people can remove themselves or add themselves without creating a new group, right? Once you do that, then you have those people who want to rep. And when they get into the group, when you allow them into that WhatsApp group, you say, hey, you post that same message that I post because you're going to have one or two different connections than I do. And then if they say, yeah, they want to rep or they want to work on hitting or work on passing for an hour and a half, no games, they get added to the WhatsApp group. And you can slowly build it like that, and that will save you time, it will save you hours, and you will find your group. I promise you that it's worked over and over and over again. And Tim says, what if you're in a new city? My advice is the exact same, Tim.
Mm-hmm. Introduce yourself.
Find their Facebook group.
Yeah.
And say every 2 or 3 days, hey, I'm going out to work on hitting high lines for 45 minutes, this time to this time. Let me know if you want to join. You treat it like you're a coach and like you're running a class, but you're not running a class. You're just setting the opportunity for somebody to go, I would actually love to hit high lines for 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And you're set.
Yeah, and Tim, I don't know if you were around for Mark talking about his new beach tennis, but like that's it. It's just getting out there, introducing yourself, asking a couple questions, seeing if they have it, and if they don't have it, create it. Yeah. And if you build it, they will come.
Hey, you want to serve for a half hour? I'll return them. I'll share to you. Like, what? That's it. And I got an extra 45 minutes of receiving high level serves from this guy who was just like, yeah, you know what? I kind of want to work on my slice. So get over on the other side. Boom. And then he just kept pouring out his knowledge. So thankful for my new friend, Alex, my new beach tennis bud.
There you go.
And then hope you guys can do some of the same stuff. Is just offer yourself, have a great attitude. Don't be sulky or pouty when you screw up just because you're nervous or you're upset that you think you're holding them back. Instead of falling within yourself, when you screw up, figure out the next best thing that you can do to assist that player, to build them, to make them feel good, to give them something better. And if you can't do it skillfully, that's fine. You just have to keep your attitude at a high level and build that culture, and then just keep asking them what they need. Well, don't keep asking them, but ask them what they need, and then be positive and be easy to be around.
Yep. Make everybody's day better.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. That was fun.
We're going to practice against Latvia.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Nice. That's exciting.
Yeah.
So, Ricard, Smoilov's, this is bad. I gotta learn their names today. But Smoilov's little brother, I believe, and his partner, who are the up-and-coming Latvian team. We gotta square off against them today, and it should be a nice little battle. We may or may not put it on our Facebook group if you want to check it out. I think we probably should. We'll record a practice. We'll put it on Volley Chat Facebook group if you want to check out how we practice against Latvia. And DJ, Serbian national champion, and Logan Weber, 80-time
AVP next winner.
Gold winner.
Yeah.
We'll practice him today. So if you guys want to check it out, we will record that and try to put it on Facebook Live. We have it up. Bad storage. All right.
All right. As always, we'll see you on the sand.
Yeah. Later.
All right. See you guys.